Howdy everyone, this is Tricia and welcome to my channel. I am starting some fall arrangements and crafts, and today I have done this bird cage. It's got some little hummingbirds flying around inside, battery operated lights, as you can see here, and a candle. It was much fun to put this together. I did struggle a little bit, and you're going to see where I struggle, but at the end it was a well worth project. So if you want to see how I put all this together, keep on watching and let's get to crafting. Alright, I want to start by introducing the items that I'm going to be using to form the cage. I have here two plastic bowls that I grabbed from Dollar Tree. They don't really have a description of their size, but I will give you an idea. This is about an 8.5 diameter, and it's about 3 inches tall, like so. Alright, so I'm going to need two of these. I also grabbed this little 4-pack of these little bowls. No description on there as well. But this is about almost 5 inches in diameter, and it's about 2 inches in height. So you get an idea. You don't have to grab what I grabbed. But this is what I think will work with the wreath forms. Now I'm only going to be using one of these little bowls. And these are the wreath forms that I'm going to be using. These don't have a size on there, but the overall diameter is 10 inches. And I've grabbed two of them. And then I'm going to need some wooden dowels, and I've got 4 wooden dowels. I've already cut up one. I decided that I wanted a 12-inch height for my cage as far as the dowels are concerned, because I do want about 1 inch to go into my styrofoam shape on the bottom, and also 1 inch to go into the styrofoam wreath shape at the top. So I decided 10 inches in between was nice. You can decide whatever you like, but since these are 36-inch pieces of dowels, I was only able to get 2 pieces. And of course, if you want to go like 16 inches, 18 inches at the max, if you cut this in half, then of course, again, you'll need 4 of these 36-inch length dowel rods, and the ones I chose are a 1/4 inch diameter, but of course you can choose them a little bit thicker if you want, or maybe a little bit thinner, maybe add more if you prefer. Now to decide how many I wanted, I went ahead and I poked one of my sticks into the styrofoam here to mark it, and then I went directly across, marked another hole, and then between those I marked also directly across that one. So then I had 4 holes, and I decided, no, I want more dowels to make it look more of a little cage. Of course, you could change the look if you want and just use 4 pieces. But I decided I wanted 8. Of course, you can go with maybe 12. And instead of going in the middle to mark, you can mark 2 somewhere, you know, separating it between these 2. But I went right in the middle of those 2, and then I went middle of these 2. And then in the middle of these 2 to mark that, and then the last one in the middle of these 2 right about here. That's sort of kind of in the middle. And then I decided, yeah, you know what, that's good enough. I don't mind the spacing. I'm going to cut 8 of these, so I'll go ahead and do that. I'm going to take all of this outside, and I'm going to be using this Rust-Oleum American Accents. This is a Ultra Cover Paint and Primer, and it is in the color it's an ultra matte. Sand color is the tone of this. Now, I want to paint all my dowel sticks, of course, all the way around. I want to paint my wreath forms, and I want to paint just one of these bowls. I decided that I want the bottom one painted, and I want the top one clear, and I decided that I always wanted to paint the little top part, but I think I'm going to go ahead and leave that clear as well. So basically, one bowl, my 2 wreaths, and 8 12-inch dowel sticks. Of course, I'm going to test this on my styrofoam, because sometimes spray paint will eat right through it. So if it doesn't work, I've got this parchment. This is a Folk Art multi-surface acrylic paint, and it is in the color Parchment. So I'll use that on these if I have to, but I think it'll be okay if I spray a light coat on here. If I see anything happening, like I said, I'll use this. Otherwise, I'll give it a light coat, and then if I have to, I'll give it another little coat. And the bowl, I just want to paint on the inside. I don't want to paint the outside. I think when I paint it on the inside, you'll see it through on this side, and this plastic will give it kind of a more of a shine, because again, this is a matte finish, and that might look pretty, so then it'll match with the shine of the bowl on the top. Okay, you decide whatever you want, but that's what I'm going to do. All right, so let me take this all outside, paint, gotta finish cutting these, and I'll be back for the next step. All right, I've got all of my pieces painted. They could use a little bit more, but so far this is what I have. The spray paint didn't affect the styrofoam, maybe because it's a really hard styrofoam. I painted my dowel sticks, but I can see now that I have them inside that I see some spots where they didn't get any paint on them. So I think I'm going to take this outside once I put some things together and just give it a little bit more of a spray. All right, so I painted the bowl, and like I told you, I was going to paint it from the inside because it does have a beautiful matte finish, but I kind of like the idea of it being glossy. So I'm going to go ahead and keep this, because if I didn't like it, I could just spray paint the outside as well. But this is what I've got so far, and I liked it so much that I decided to do the top bowl and the top small bowl. I also painted them from the inside, as you can see. All right, so let's go ahead and start putting some of this together. I've got my hot glue gun here ready to go. I'm going to take one of the bowls and the styrofoam here. I think this side looks best, so I'm going to put that on the top. Turn this around so that then I can hot glue all of this. And then I'll repeat it with the other wreath form and the big bowl. All right, one of them had the little holes marked. This one, okay, I'll leave that one right there. I've got some paint on my hands, on my fingers. Let's see if my glue gun is already ready. Making sure this is as centered as I can get it. And I'm gluing it like this because I want to make sure that I'm actually gluing the bowl to the styrofoam. I'm not just putting styrofoam where I think it's going to touch. So I think this is the easiest way. All right, I'll continue all the way around, and then I'll repeat with the other bowl and styrofoam. All right, so here are my two bowls with the styrofoam. Looking good. I'm trying to decide which one I want for the top. Which one has the most coverage inside of, as far as the paint is concerned. I think I'm okay with that one being on top. They both look pretty much the same. All right, so now I want to put the dowel sticks onto the bottom, right where I marked it with these holes. So I'll just use some hot glue to insert them, or rather to glue them. As I insert them, and just be careful, don't push it all the way through because you don't want it popping out this way. So just as far as it'll go. Maybe you want to make a little mark with a little pen or pencil to let you know, okay, don't go beyond that, okay? Just to push them in as best as you can. I don't think I pushed it in a whole inch, but that's okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of these where I had made these holes. I'm going to put the unpainted edges outward. I'm going to try and be mindful of doing that so that I can take it outside and just give it a quick little spraying and only worry about those parts, like, you know, on the sticks. All right, this is the unpainted side, or at least it doesn't look as painted as the other side. And when I'm doing, I'm actually using the glue to kind of mark, but sometimes when you slide something in, it makes the glue slide upward, so it doesn't make the best marker, but it's working. All right, I'm going to try to keep these as straight as I can as well, because then I want to insert them onto here, but I'm going to wait till I've got some decorations in there to do that. Okay, let's see what side of this side. All right, so I've got 4 sticks in there so far. Okay, so now I'm going to put the ones in between. This one keeps wanting to move around too much on me, so let's put some glue there to kind of keep it still. to keep an eye on them and straighten them up. Okay. All right. I'm trying to decide if I should do these, but I am, because I want to go and spray paint this. I don't need to take that part because I don't have to touch up anything. I think the wreath could use some covering, but I am going to put some moss here. So that's going to cover a lot of the styrofoam. So I'm not going to worry about it too much. Okay. Just trying to align it as best as I can. And make sure I keep the painted side outward. All right. I've got all the 8 pieces of dowels in there. Keep checking to make sure they're straight. Alright, I have a piece of styrofoam here, or rather a block of styrofoam. I also grabbed this from the Dollar Tree. This is a 2.9 inch by 3.9 inch by 3.9. So it is square this way, and of course there's a little bit more here. But this is the size that I got. You can grab a bigger piece and then just trim it to size. I'm going to go ahead and glue this right on the inside of this bowl. Probably should have done that before I put the dowel sticks on there. But I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And so yeah, I can reach in there, between there. Do that. And then I'll take it outside and spray like I said I was. Oops, I have a fan blowing. I had it blowing to dry the glue on here. Now it's making this glue dry too quickly, so I have to turn it around. Alright, I gotta put lots of glue there because I want to make sure the styrofoam sticks. Ah, that's nice. Okay. And some here dripping down the edge here to get those little corners of the styrofoam. Because since it is square and the bowl is going this way, the styrofoam is not fitting flat on the bottom, so I have to kind of push it, sort of get glued down to the bottom, you know, the glue that I poured at the bottom. Plus I'm also gluing on the edges here so that glue drips downward, creating a puddle on these corners. Okay, another stick here. Of course, you always want to be careful when you're pushing down, you know, styrofoam into anything. This is a pretty hard plastic on these bowls here on the bottom. But you never know, maybe pushing down like that could cause them to crack, so just be careful. And there's the styrofoam glued in there. So now I can take this and just spray these parts here on these sticks where you can see they're not painted. I can see the wood. And I don't care if some paint falls on that styrofoam. I don't want to directly paint that styrofoam. That is a softer foam than this, so that could get eaten up by this spray paint. So I'll take this out, let it dry, and I'll be back with the next step. Alright, so I am still actually waiting for the other item to dry, and I decided to go on and move on to the next step. I want to take this little bowl and glue it to the top, because I think that'll give it a more finished top or edge, because this is really flat, and you know, you can tell it's just a bowl. But I thought this little decorative bowl, it's got some little, you know, sort of a, what do you want to call it, textured, embossed decor on the plastic. So I want to glue it right up on the top there, but I also want to be really careful not to get any glue that drips down. So I'm going to put some on these little scalloped edges that go downward, because I feel like that's the part that was actually touching. So, yep, there it is. While I'm doing this, I'm getting the idea of also maybe doing another one and making it a hanging cage. So I'm working on that idea. Alright, so there we go. Okay, so I want to put some little birds, and I happen to have these little hummingbirds. I'm trying to decide if I want to use all of them or just maybe a couple of them. I definitely want to use this one, but it's missing some of its little tail feathers, and this one has a broken tail feather, so that's gonna sort of help me decide. But I'm going to pull out the nice tail feather from here, and I'm going to glue it to this little bird that I want to use that's missing one. And then I'll just use two of the birds. Alright, just glue it at the bottom here. Let that dry. Okay, so I also want to kind of have them hanging off of the, or inside of the cage. So I've got some, this is transparent string. Here's the label. I got this from Hobby Lobby. You can find this, you know, like fishing string, you can use that. Let me find the end or the edge. Yeah, it's the end, right? The edge. Okay, I will find this edge and I'll be back. Alright, so I found the end. I keep saying the edge. I found the end of the string. And I'm going to knot it a couple of times. Or more, maybe. Depends. Because this is going to be very delicate. And I am going to hot glue it. But I would recommend using a different glue. Something that won't melt this string. And I know you can't see it. But I'm making a knot on the end there, and I'm going to glue it to the inside of my bowl here. If I have it like this, it's at the bottom. Okay, so let's add some glue, and we'll let it just cool down a couple of seconds, just so it's not so hot, and then we'll put our little string on there. Oops, the string is stuck to my finger. Okay, let me do that again. Put some glue. I should get my silicone tips. Okay, put that in there. Let it cool off first, you guys. Just a little bit. Don't let it get too cool that you can't stick it, but just enough. There we go. The silicone, so I can push that in there. The string is still there. It's not coming off. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry. I'm going to cut it really long because I don't know how much I need, but I'm going to cut it more, you know, more than I think I need, so I can do another one. Because I'm going to be suspending these two hummingbirds from these little strings so that they look like they're flying inside the cage. Ooh, doggy's outside. I forgot about her. Alright, I'm going to continue this. Let my dog in so she's not still barking. Poor thing. And I'll be back once I've got the string in there, and then I'll decide what lengths I want so that I can do another little knot and then glue somewhere on the top of the little birds right here on their backs so that they're kind of just suspended and hanging freely. All right. Alright, so I've added two strings coming out from the inside of this bowl. I don't know if you can see the little glue dots at the bottom there. They have knotted strings coming out of that, and they're just going to hang downward. And I'm glad I had to go outside because I was able to grab this piece right here. So then I'm going to test something out here real quick. Alright, so I'm going to have this on here, but of course it's going to be, the dowels here are going to go inserted in here, so I'm going to lose about an inch or so. That looks really tall, doesn't it? I almost want to trim this a little bit lower, but I kind of like that. I really like the height. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and leave it. Let me show you how it looks on the top. See, there's the top. Alright, so I've got those two strings hanging, and now I can decide more or less where I'm going to trim them and give it a little bit extra to do a little knot to hang my birds. I think I want one kind of high, and then I'll do the other one a little bit lower. Okay, so let's do that one, because the lower one I can always decide to make it higher. All right, so I want it to be about right there. Now keep in mind that once I push these dowels into the styrofoam, this is going to lower just a little bit more. So if I want it there, I'm going to just say, okay, I want it up here. And I'm going to give it about 1 inch of length. Oh, 1.5 inches, okay? 1.5 inches. Okay, I can get rid of that length. And then I'm going to do a knot. Let's go ahead and do that down here, so we don't have things falling over. Okay, let's do the little knots. I guess while I'm doing the knots, I could actually just pull things and everything comes falling down. Okay, do a little knot, and I'm going to do several. Okay, now I want to take that on the back of my bird, drop some glue, and then I'm going to take the little knot, since I've got the little fan kind of blowing on it a little bit, it's cooling it off. Okay, once that is dry on the back of the bird and it's not going to come off, I can go ahead and trim the excess piece of the clear, you know, the wire, and then I'll have the other piece over here coming off of it. So it'll hang from that. Okay, now I want to do the other bird, and I don't want it to be hanging as long as it, so I'm just going to go a little bit shorter, but I don't want to make it too short that it's way over here and then we don't see it. So I'm going to cut like about right here. Let me put this little bird in there. You can decide how long you want yours, of course. Okay, about right there. Let's get rid of that piece. Make some little knots. I'm going to try to get closer to the end of the string this time. Try not to pull it. I could pull it off of there. Okay. One more. I can barely see the string, so I'm thinking, oh my God, you probably can't at all in the camera here. All right, so now I've got a little knot on there, and now I'm going to put glue on the back of my little bird here. Oops. Little dot. I'll worry about the glue webs later, just like I'm going to worry about that end of the string later. And I just want to make sure that this little string is just going to come up like that on the back of it. So that's what I'm doing right now, just maneuvering it so that, you know, they hang, that they're flying around in there. That's what I want. Okay, and I can see that this one looks a little too sideways. I don't know if I can fix that. I probably have to do another string. I'm going to trim off that end. I'm going to bend this string. This one as well. I don't mind this one kind of pointing downward, like it's going to fly down. I don't like the way this one is. Maybe I need another string to, yeah, because it's the string is the knot is a little bit too far this way. So I think I'm going to do some adjusting, or add another string on kind of like on the other side of the little body, and then bring it down in there. I don't know. You know what? I'm just going to adjust it. Bring it more towards the center. All right, let's put another dot of glue here. Kind of peeled off a little bit of the back of the bird. That's okay. We are going to redirect this. I can always use a little bit of paint. I don't think I need it. Let's see. He's hanging down a little bit better. He's pointing downward, which is fine. They're flying downward. I'll have to do some adjusting. I don't like that. I don't like him looking like he's falling off. Let's try this again. it's going to be a tricky little situation, right? Now, if you don't want to do this, of course you can add some little birds and just glue them onto the floral arrangement or somewhere on the flowers that you add onto this, rather than hanging them off like I'm doing. Oh, that's better. Look at that. Should I try to adjust the other one? Maybe I should. I wanted to hang more like that than like that. This one's a little bit, you know, sideways, but he still looks okay. Let me try and fix the other one. Yeah, make sure that you center it on the little body. You gotta think of the weight, because I think maybe the tail is a little, or the little beak is a little heavier. I'm gonna turn this. The little beak is heavier, so. And then I'll probably have to touch it up with some paint there. Let's see. No, it's still doing the same thing. Did I put it back the same way? Let's turn it around the other way. Okay, that's better. I needed to get it closer to the beak, just so that'll lift the beak upward. And the other little bird is hanging fine. There you go. You can see both of them. One right here, one right here. Let's put it in here. There you go. Lovely. All right. We'll move on to the next step. All right, so on the inside of my cage, I want to put one of these LED pillar candles. I grabbed this from Dollar Tree as well. You can tell the price there. Does it have a price the size anywhere on this? Okay, it doesn't say the size. Let me go ahead and measure it so you know what sizes I'm using. This is pretty much their, you know, their standard pillar candle that they have at Dollar Tree. Where's the inches? Oh, there they are. Okay, so this is about almost, yeah, 5 inches in height. That's what it is. And it's about 2.5 in diameter. Okay, so I want to make sure that it works. Pull out the little tab here. Yep, it lights up just fine. All right. Okay, so now let's go ahead and take this tag off on the outside. You have to be careful because this is a waxy finish on here, and you can scratch it up. All right, I'm going to want this to rest right in the middle. Now, I thought, well, I'll just hot glue it down, but then how am I going to turn it on and off? So he's going to have to just rest in there. So the way that I can do this so that it rests and kind of doesn't move is I'm going to add some little pieces of dowel sticks. So let's see, maybe 3 of them. So I'm just taking the scrap piece, making sure this is centered on here. All right, I'll put some glue on the dowel stick. Try not to get it on the candle itself. And I'm going to push it so I just have maybe 1/2 inch poking out. Can you see that right there? All right. I could do 4, so I could do 1 in every corner, but I'm just going to sort of move this around, put it in 3 spots. Once I know where I'm going to poke it, I'm going to move the candle out of the way so I don't get any of that hot glue against it. Okay. And that all will get hidden. Okay, let's push it against there. 1 more. You could mark the little hole and then lift this out of the way and then put glue on here and then poke it. That would probably be the best way to do it so you don't make any glue on your candle. All right, now we can slide it in there and then it won't move around. See? Now it could fall out, but it won't move around. You'll know exactly where to place it. You can pull it out. There's plenty of room here to put your hands through it. So that's why I like this idea. Just 8. You probably don't want to put any closer now that I think about it. I had said if you want to add more, put them closer. You probably don't want to do that because you're not going to be able to stick your hand in there to turn your candle on and off. Unless, of course, you're not going to put any candle. You're not going to be worrying about that, you know, having to reach in and turn it on and off. You know, maybe you just want it there decoratively, or you don't put one, you know, you don't use a candle at all, just maybe a little nest in there or something else, or just fill it with flowers. Okay, now that we know where, now that I know where the candle, so I am so clumsy. Now that I know where the candle is going to lay, then I can start adding some flowers in there, start decorating this. Now I'm thinking, you know what, maybe I can go ahead and attach this to the top part because I know that I can reach in, okay? I wanted to know that I could reach in. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this one around with my little birds in there. And then I'm going to take this and just kind of carefully just adjust it and see where I'm going to push these dowels into. This one seems to be the longest one, so I'm going to push this one down first. Okay. And then I'm going to go, you have to do this carefully and just do it a little bit at a time. Okay? Do a little bit at a time. Do the longer pieces first. As soon as the other ones are hitting, start pushing those in as well. And it's going to be tricky, you guys. I don't know what would be easier, to push it down the other way or these get pushed in. All right. It's tricky, tricky, tricky. Okay, push that in. Come on, babies, you can do it. You can do it. Yeah, come on. I'm going to do this side first, and then I'll work my way around rather than going across, because that makes it harder to push them in. Okay. Yeah, okay, this is kind of working. Not. I say it's working, and then as soon as I say that, of course it's not. Okay, maybe you want another person to help you. Maybe I should get somebody to help me. I don't have anybody. My mom, but she wouldn't be able to do this. All right, I'm going to take my time and do this. I feel like I'm more nervous because I have the camera running here, and I might have to turn it around and push this down onto the dowels. That might work better, and maybe it'll help me stabilize the dowels. I don't know. It's just that they keep moving around on me. As soon as I push one in and I try to push another, it kind of tips it over, so it pulls this side out. So let me try doing it the other way around. Now I like the other way because I could see where these were going in. I want you to see the top of my head here. Yeah. This helps me keep this thing. I think the best thing is going to be to poke holes and then try to push them in. So now that I've kind of have them marked, I'm going to use this seam ripper. Let's turn this back around the other way. So I have my holes already pretty much marked. Yeah, I have them marked. Okay, let's take that off. Let's use the seam ripper. Okay, I'm doing this again because you weren't seeing any of what I was doing, so I'm redoing it. You can see here that I've already marked the holes. I used my seam ripper and I was marking holes like that. What was happening the other way was they were kind of moving, kind of scratching things, so you could go back and just touch it up with a little bit of paint. Now, if you're using spray paint, you could spray some of that paint into the cap of the spray paint, you know, into here, spray it in here. Use a little brush, and then, you know, paint it on here. And clean that brush immediately, or it's a little brush that you don't care about. Toss it away because that spray paint will ruin your brush. Okay, so that's all I did, is I just went around and I secured those holes. The only problem with that is that now I don't know which hole goes to which dowel. So I'm just going to maneuver it around and see what happens. All right. Okay. I'm going to turn this around. Now that I know that they're going in there, you can do it this way. And I'm going to start putting some glue in there. So start securing them so they don't move around on me. I can see this stick is kind of going sideways here. That's okay. We can make another little hole and fix that. And we can cover all this with some flowers or something. Come on, honey. Ah, that was a bad idea. I shouldn't have moved it. Okay. Come on. Get in there. Get in there. No, they're coming off the top. Oh, you know what, you guys? Oh, it's going to fall on the floor. No, I don't want you to. Let's do this. This is going to work, you guys, okay? This is going to work. I said I was going to do this off camera because I was getting nervous. I think that pulled off of that. Yeah, because it's got a little bit of styrofoam on the edges. It pulled off of this side. All right. Glue. Oh, you can't see what I'm doing. Okay. This one has some styrofoam that tore off this side, so I know it belongs to that one. And I know this one belongs here. Wow. This isn't as easy as I thought it was going to be. Maybe because I have so many sticks. It might work with less. But I want it to look like a cage, right? That's the ultimate goal. Is to have it looking like a cage. There we go. There we go. All right, there we go. Let's get some glue and just get them just to stick right where they're at. And I'm not going to try and push them in anymore. Ah, you guys, this one is in the wrong place, right here. There we go. Just put lots of glue. And remember, this is the top because that's where the little birds are. That's what's. And I'm putting lots of glue. Turn this down. Lots of glue there to hold all of that. And I'm going to be covering a lot of this. I can use some moss, some of the greenery, some florals, but not too many on the top. So I don't want too much of a mess here, but we'll cover it with some moss. We're not going to worry, okay? So do your best. Don't give up. I had this all planned out in my head. Sometimes things don't work out exactly as you think, but if you keep on, you persevere, you can get something. You can make alterations wherever you have to, okay? All right, I'm going to go off camera now, finish, so I can start gluing the top part. So I'll have to turn it around so that I can glue all of that and make sure. But I'm going to make sure all this glue dries first because I don't want it dripping, right? Because this is the top part. I don't want it, you know, a bunch of glue dripping downward. So to keep myself safe from that. Now this stick is a little bit crooked, but I'm not going to worry about it. It looks fantastic. I love the idea. So I'm just going to make sure. I'm probably going to let this dry. Add more glue, let that dry, and then I'm going to do the top. Of course, like I said, well, this is actually the bottom. I'm going to turn it around and then put glue here. That way that doesn't drip down, you know, this way. All right, I'll be back when all of that is secure and perfectly done, or at least as perfect as I can get it. All right, again, I'm back again, and please excuse the sound of all the fans. It is super hot, you guys. I have to have fans on. I started this without anything on, but I have to have them. Super hot, super humid outside, and then, you know, I've been running back and forth, you know, to paint this. I'm making all these excuses, but I mean, that's what happened. And plus, I'm doing laundry at the same time, so I am sweating. All right, so here I've got some greenery pins, okay? Maybe called U pins as well, so there you go. And then I've got some green moss. You can use Spanish moss if you prefer. I'm going to take some of this moss and with the greenery pens attach it to the styrofoam inside, and then of course I want to add some moss at the top edge. Let me move my camera. Okay, I want to put some on the top edge to hide this glue, this hot glue, and then I'm going to add some here on the bottom, some coming down like that, maybe towards the little sticks. I might add some on the sticks. I don't know, we'll see. Just little patches here and there. But I want to take some bigger pieces. Let me move the fan towards me instead of my arrangement. And I'm going to put this inside just to hide the styrofoam edges here. I'm going to add some flowers and such. That'll do a lot more covering. But I'm going to try and get some of this in there. And I'm using these greenery pens to push that down and hold that. You could use hot glue if you want, but the greenery pens are awesome for this. Get some more in there. This will make a big old mess, but it's well worth the look at the end. I'm just trying not to put any on the middle where the candle is going to rest. And I'll show you in a minute what it's looking like on the inside. Try to be careful not to move my dowel so much and make them come unglued. So if you're doing this for somebody else, make sure you glue your dowels on really well. If you have to use a different glue aside from your hot glue gun. Can you see that? That's what I'm putting in there to cover that styrofoam. Alright, so now I want to put some in these little spots here where there's hot glue and hide that at the bottom of the sticks just for the heck of it because I want to. Let me get some more glue here. I'm going to be using a lot of hot glue, by the way. Okay, I'm going to start at the bottom here and then I'll do the top because I feel like that's going to take me longer to cover all that glue on the top edge here. Let me just show you real quick how I plan to do that. I'm just going to take small bits of the moss, just a thin line of glue, and just like that, little pieces like that, and I'm going to work my way around. Just push it in. Any excess will can just fall off. And I'm going to make sure I cover all that first before I start doing anything, and then covering here and all the sticks. So first all this top edge and all these bits where the glue is showing, bits where glue is showing here. You know, because someone might be sitting kind of low and they'll be able to look up and they'll see, you know, the glue here. So you want to cover that up. Try to be a little more mindful about those things if you plan on giving it as a gift or selling it, okay? Just be mindful. And what is that other thing? I forgot. Alright, I'll continue working on this and I'll be back once I've advanced quite a bit so you don't have to see all this tedious process and hear me talk. Alright, so as you can see, I have advanced quite a bit on my project. I am just going to go ahead and finish up right here. I don't know if I need to add any more on this part. I think I'm okay. I don't want to overdo it. I'm going to do a little bit here because I still have to put some flowers and some greenery on this. So let me go ahead and continue and just finish up this little part, and I can clean up all my mess and get on to the next part. All right. Now I've already added all the moss up here at the top. So I'm just doing these last two on the bottom. Now I went ahead and also on the top is I tucked some on the inside here. So when you're looking at the whole project, you know, from downward and you're looking up, you can see that all this is covered. And then I decided to drag some of the moss that's here on downward towards the inside. So that's what I'll do in these two little spots. I almost forgot where I just did. Okay, so it was right here. Pour some more glue down this side here. So I'm just pouring glue and then I'm just dropping moss. Whatever catches to the glue, awesome. So I think that's good. And then I put some, you can see here, some of it going downward here. There was a seam on the wreath. You can see the seam, so I made sure I hit that. I don't know where it is right now, but it's in one of these. I hit it with moss, and I did the same thing on the top. So now I want to add some of the same moss that I've been adding on some of these dowel sticks. I want to add some to these here on this side. So that's all I've got to do to finish this up. I also put some coming down from this moss here, like for example, I'll put some glue right here and then just get some bits and glue, and whatever falls off, just like that. Maybe some going down the stick. And then I also want to make sure that I do put some, you know, on the inside as well. If I want to make it look like the moss is just kind of wrapping on it. I don't have to completely cover it. I'm just doing little bits. And then I can do some coming up. Of course, a lot of that, I'm doing it kind of quickly now. I was doing it slowly and carefully off camera, but now I'm just kind of rushing, but I just want you to get the idea of what I was doing. And you know, I've had my struggles with this project, but in the end it's coming out really nice. It's what I was imagining this to be. I kept trying to think of like, what project can I do next, because I hadn't done a craft project. Been doing things outside, and then we had so much rain, some power outages, and unfortunately some other places here in Texas had devastating flooding and some deaths. So we're praying for those people. We're praying for those that are still missing. Please join in doing the same if you're able to. Give anything, please. Do what you can, even if it's a little bit, any little bit counts. All right, let me continue with this. All right, so before I continue with some flowers, I do have this, this is a warm light bottle insert lights. You can see that right there. All right, you can see the little picture right there. I got these from Walmart. I was around Christmas time. I grabbed these little fairy lights. I've already pulled out the little tab and turned them on, and it's working. So I'm thinking that I would like to add them on there, and I'm trying to decide where I should put this part here that turns on and off. I don't know if I want to just tuck it in there on the bottom, and then there'll be some flowers kind of hiding it, or I want to glue it to the top and reach into to do that. But I think the best way would be to put this on the bottom, because if I'm reaching up on the top, you know, I could be causing it to turn over. I've shook it around a few times already, get as much of the loose moss to come off of it. So you want to make sure you do that, because you're going to get lots of little bits of moss. That's the only reason. I don't really care too much about using moss, but I love the effect of it. I do care how it looks. I just don't care how it has to work. I kind of want to put some moss up here, and then maybe a little bit coming down. We'll see. All right, let me go ahead and take these lights off of here, and see they'll work some way on my arrangement here. I've got quite a bit. I don't know how long this is. Okay, found the end. It starts it. All right, so I've got it to kind of sort of untangle so I can see how long. Ooh, it's kind of pretty tangled. Okay, let me do this a little more carefully. Let me unravel this and I'll be back. Okay, so I was back with this whole thing unraveled and I realized I'm not recording any of it. Let me show you what I'm doing. Let me move the camera down. I've got this whole bit now all tangled up in my hand. Okay, so I got the part that, you know, the end that turns on. I wasn't sure I wanted to drop it here or put it on the top. I decided to drop it at the bottom because it would be easier to reach in there and turn it on and off. So it'll be dropped in there. There'll be some flowers here and I'll just tuck it between the flowers. And then what I'm doing is I'm wrapping it up, the dowel, and then I want to go across and then come back down. Like skip one, come back down one of them, and then go across the bottom, skipping one, and then go up. So I'll just do that, like up and down, and hopefully I've wrapped up maybe like, yeah, four of the dowels, because I don't know how much this length is going to allow me to do. So the only thing is, how do I get it to like stay up here? I guess a little bit of glue is going to be needed. And look, a lot more moss is falling as I'm doing this. So a little drop of glue is going to be needed to hold this in place. But you know what? Let me wrap it around kind of tightly right here on the top. That'll hold it in place. I don't want to use any glue, that's why. Ooh, the little bird. Don't get it tangled. There we go. Let's go like that. Maybe that'll work. Okay. Now come across this top part, pull tightly, wrap it around this dowel tightly, and then come down on it. Ooh, that end. Okay, that's working. So as soon as I get down here, down to this bottom here, I will wrap it nice and tight. Go across, wrap it tight here, bring it up, you know, curl it around or wrap it around, get up here, tap, wrap it up nice and tight up here, and then go over, skip over, go to the next one and come down. And then whatever length I have left, maybe I'll just kind of move it around at the bottom there. There we go, and we've met up with this other end, and I still have a little bit of length. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to push it inside. Let's get our candle. Let's get our candle, place it in its little spot, and then I'm just going to throw this down here. Just tuck it in, and if I have to use the U-pins to kind of hold it down, I will. There we go, right there. Just resting on the moss there. Oh, you know what I need to do? I need to cover those dowels that are in there holding the... Oh wait, no, maybe the flowers will. I was thinking I need to cover them with moss. So let me go ahead and grab the flowers that I want to use. Alright, so here I have a collection of some florals that I just grabbed from the Dollar Tree, I don't know, about a week ago or so. These are from their fall. I've got some mums here, some hydrangeas, some fall like maple, yeah, maple leaf. Got 2 bunches of those, and then I got this, it's called Silver Dollar. Grabbed a couple of these, and I have some greenery in my collection. I like this color right here. I have some of the greenery. I don't know how much I'll need of all of this. I want to use a little bit, not too much, because I don't want to cover the design of my cage. I don't want to hide any of that. Of course, I don't want to hide the little birds. So I want to be very careful as to how much I use, but a lot of this I can save for another project if I don't use it. So I'm going to start off with the flowers. So I'm going to go ahead and use my wire cutters and cut off one stem at a time and see how much I'm going to need, instead of cutting everything and then I, you know, just not end up using it all. Okay, I mean, I can always save what I don't use, even if it's already cut. So I'm going to cut these. I don't think I'm going to use the whole length of the stick here. Let's move this over here this way. Let me fix my camera. Okay, I'm gonna move the leaves up on these so they can slide upward. I'm gonna put these around the candle. That'll help hide those little sticks. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of glue here. And I might have to move those lights that I just pushed on there. I'm pushing this into the styrofoam. Careful not to push it against, you know, like where the candle, like in the way of the candle. So you want to make sure you're going to be able to have space in there to get your hand in there and pick up the candle so you can turn it on and off. Just adding a little bit of glue. I'm pushing this into the styrofoam a little bit in front of those little pieces of towel sticks that I had in there. This will help hide the stick. And in front of it, you know, outward, helps to not hide or not impede in the way of the candle. You can take these lights and maybe just put them on top of these flowers so they don't get hidden in there. You want to see that pretty lights. So we'll kind of bring that up a little bit. Since the wire is really thin, you don't really see them. All right. Okay, that's really pretty. So I want to take some of these hydrangeas and I also want to put it on the top. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so I'm going to cut these a little bit shorter. And I'm going to push it into the styrofoam up here. And push this one. Cut it from the bottom up. And then just move it to the position you want. I'm just going to put one here. I think these I'm going to save and put some on the bottom wreath also. Okay, let's put some down here as well. I don't want to hide the little lights, so just being careful not to do that. I'll add another one kind of pointing downward up here this time. And then the other two down here somewhere. At least I think so. Okay, I'm going to move on to this other flower, pushing all the bits on it. I'm going to cut these pretty short. I don't need them long. Really short, just enough to push in to the styrofoam up here. There we go. To balance off with this hydrangea up here. I can do the same with this other hydrangea. And I'm going to push it a little bit more this way to kind of be between these two. I don't want to make everything like super, you know, spaced out the same. I know I did that with the initial ones here, but I'm going to do a little different placement with these. These ones, let's save those. I did buy 3 bunches of these. Push all the leaves up. Okay, I'll be back. I'm just going to remove flowers off the stem, the bushes. All right, I'm going to continue. I'm going to leave this one a little bit longer because I'm going to push it inside there. And styrofoam inside of here. Let's get another one. Actually, I can stick that leaf in there now on its own little stem piece. Do that. Sticking it into the styrofoam. Okay. I love the way that's looking. Okay, then I've got these longer bits. I want to put them also in there. I'm trying to remember where I tucked in that this little cork part, the plastic cork. I'll look for it in a minute. Gorgeous. I love this so far. I might not need any greenery. We'll decide that in a minute. Okay, I want to take some of these long pieces as well. Yeah, I want to have a couple of them. Oops. More glue. I need to cut this shorter. It's too long. I want to have like some pieces coming out downward like that. See how that looks? Coming down. I think it looks gorgeous. And I want to use these flowers as well. Now I can put one of these. Oh, the stick is too long. Let's cut it short. With this cluster here. And I can also add one. You know, it started to come out a little bit more even than I wanted it to, but it's okay. All right. And then I'll put another one of these somewhere over here. Okay. Beautiful. All right. I have the maple leaves now. I'm wondering if I need them. But this is what makes it a fall arrangement. So I think I'm going to add a few. I'll save the other bunch of leaves for some of the project. Just add a few here and there. One here. I like this really nice full one. Making sure it sticks into the styrofoam. It's looking really full now. Okay, one more. Down here. Now you know what I'm going to do? Instead of sticking these with a stem, I'm just going to cut them off like that. And then I'm just going to put some glue on the backs here. And I'm just going to glue them. Oops. I was reaching for another one too quickly. That. A little bit on the back of the leaf as well here. I want to put this one kind of upward like that here. See that? Looks pretty. Okay, let's make sure we add some more. I want this ivory here. And I want this kind of pinkish one up here. This is fall and they have like these pink colors. I love traditional fall colors, but you know what? I'm trying to expand myself here. Oops, this one fell off. I'll glue it back in a minute. I'm trying to expand myself by using other colors. I know some people are very purist. They're like, no, I don't like all these different colors. And that's fine because, hey, I think the same thing. But I think they're so pretty. The blues and the pinks, lavenders are coming out for fall. Just trying to do things, just trying to open, you know, my mind and being, you know, in a different mindset of creativity. Not better or right or wrong, just different. Okay, now I would like to use these silver dollar ones. I don't know how I'm going to use them. I wanted them coming down. They're looking kind of big to me now. Let me cut this really short. Let me go ahead and put that. Actually, that looks pretty good. Look at that. And I'll do one on the other side here. And I still have one more of these stems that I could save for another project. So really I used, one bunch of hydrangeas, or was it two? I don't even know now. I think I used two. And then I used 3 of the Mom, and I used 1 of the Maple Leaves and 1 of the Silver Leaf. So you get an idea of what I've used. I really love the way that it looks. I don't think I'm going to pull out any greenery out of my box. I do have this one. Let me make a long one. I'm thinking something. Let me see if it will look good. A couple of them. I'm thinking of pushing it in there and then kind of folding it downward like that. Let's see how that looks. Yeah. And then just kind of folding it more because it's wired. That looks good. I like that. See how that's kind of just dripping out at the bottom? Like that. Okay, so maybe I'll do another, or have one here, one more. And then I'll add some on the top. Also dripping out. Okay, and I need this to be long because it needs to reach in all the way into the styrofoam. Being careful not to glue all those. Oops, I want to go under the light here. This one that's going here in the middle. I'm also trying to find where that thing is where I turn it on and off. Wow. I don't know where it ended up. I'm trying to feel around for it, you guys. I will find it, but I'll do it off camera, so I'm not wasting your time. I want you to just to see what I'm doing here. Making sure these lights don't get hidden away under under everything here. Okay, there. Wrap it around. Okay, and then I want to do. And you know what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to pull these off. I'll leave one along. I should have cut it shorter. Okay. Should in here, fold it downward to the side, and then I'll grab these and glue it a little bit there to kind of hide that. And then maybe one of these up here, up like that. I like that. I'm doing things just kind of quickly, so it's not very nice. But I just want you to have an idea of how you can present your arrangement if you want to create this. I almost grabbed it from the dowel. I don't want to grab it from the dowel. I don't want things to come falling apart. Okay, one more piece. See, I didn't use very much of these stabs and pieces, and yet it looks very full. So look at that. But I can still see the birds. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't hiding the birds and that I'm not hiding the candle and everything. So I think that's it, you guys. All right, everyone. So here is my finished project. I have made a fall lit bird cage. You can see there, got my little hummingbirds flying around in there. Look at that, you can't even see the string. My little battery operated candle and some fairy lights lighting that up. I think it looks really pretty. I'm really happy with this project. Again, this is the beginning of my fall projects and arrangements, so hope I'm not too early, but I think it's time that we all get started, start thinking about what we want to do, especially those of you who maybe sell things. You want to get those projects going now. I was very inspired when I walked into the Dollar Tree and saw these beautiful little flowers and the colors that they had. I initially grabbed a bunch of orange because I wanted to do orange, but then I saw these kind of like pinkish lavender flowers, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna do that. And I thought I had a bird, but I had a hummingbird, so what the heck. Hummingbirds are really more for spring, but I think my arrangement looks really nice. Actually, it looks kind of springy. So actually, maybe even for a wedding, you guys, you can change the theme of this idea for really any occasion, birthday, whatever you want. Maybe a shower, baby shower, bridal shower, or just a nice centerpiece to take over to someone that's special to you. I want to thank everyone for watching my video, yeah, I'm going to give myself a big old thumbs up, and I hope that you too will give me a big old thumbs up and leave a kind comment down below. Let me know what you thought of my project, and if you have any suggestions for any future projects. Again, I'm working on fall at the moment, so I would like some ideas on what to do. But thank y'all very much for sticking around. If you haven't already subscribed, please hit that red subscribe. Oh, I don't know if it's a red subscribe button anymore. I think it just says subscribe. But hit subscribe and then choose all so that you get notified as soon as I upload a video. Once again, thank you for watching, and thank you for watching all the way through. If you watched the whole thing, I really appreciate that. Y'all have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week. And as always, enjoy.